Hi, continuing my review of my arsenal. I now have in my hands my CZ ASG Bren 805 AG. This is one of my favorite assault rifles that's out there. I've had this gun for about 2 years. I think I've used it 4 times out in an outdoor field, and I think this gun is a very unique assault rifle that actually performs very well, all things considered. It does have a couple quirks to it that I'll discuss in this video that might be specific to mine. However, based off my research on Reddit and other online sources, some of these issues are common with other owners of the CZ Bren. Um, However, you can't deny that this gun is a very nice looking assault rifle. That's not in my opinion, that's a fact. Anyways, to start off with the issues, to get them out of the way, one issue is feeding that I believe is caused by a little bit wider mag well than most M4 magazine accepting replicas. It causes quite a lot of wobble. It's very shallow too compared to other M4 replicas, M4 magazine accepting replicas. So you get a lot of magazine wobble. Mine doesn't. Mine certainly likes mid caps over high caps and the stronger springed mid caps. So be wary of magazine compatibility and some feeding issues. More feeding issues are I'm like double feeding, not feeding towards the end of magazines when the tension isn't as great as it is at the beginning of a magazine. So watch out for issues like that. Another issue that mine had, there is a MOSFET in the back. You take this stock off that I might say is a very nice stock. It's all plastic, but you take the stock off by taking this pin out. Then you'll find your battery compartment, which is the top of the receiver right here. Kind of runs around, runs down here, much like an AK style gun. You stick batteries. Anyway, there's a connector back there, and my gun stopped working during a game, and I thought my gun was broken. Turns out that I believe the battery I was using just wasn't powerful enough to cycle the gun. I was using a 7.4 LiPo. Anyways, so I kind of tore it apart and broke it by severing the wires back here. So don't do that. If your gun does stop working and you're using like a 7.4 LiPo or maybe even an 8.496 nickel metal hydride battery, just try to put an 11-1 in there and see what happens. Don't make the same mistake I did and essentially sever the wires and spend $50 to $100 upgrading it or fixing it when it wasn't broken in the first place. So something to keep in mind. A couple other issues. Well, that's really about it. Those two are the biggest issues, honestly, that I ran into. The battery space is quite small, so very thin stick-tight batteries up top there. Another, not necessarily an issue, but just something to watch out for. This rail right here, it's quite sharp. The metal on it, and up top too. It's a very sharp, physically sharp gun. So just watch you don't cut yourself essentially on these rails, which extends. It's a very nice machined CNC machined metal upper receiver and rails, but just don't cut yourself. This is an aftermarket compensator. It comes with a more standard birdcage orange plastic compensator, metal outer barrel, metal gas block right here, plastic sights. The front and rear sight are plastic, but they are actually quite nice, and they can be adjusted for windage and elevation, both of them. Of course, you got 2 sling loops right here. You got one right here and one right there on both ends. A very mean looking handguard slash upper receiver, in my opinion. Very sturdy, very solid feeling upper receiver handguard. Then your charging handle can be pulled back. You'll access that'll, as with a lot of other assault rifles, that's how you access your hop up, which is very much so like the FAL I previously reviewed. It's a rotary style, the thicker knob, much like a G3. FAL, G36. All those guns have this very similar hop up. The one thing unique to this one is the magazine well can be switched out. They actually make a proprietary magazine well that you can get for whatever reason if you'd like to. But you take out this very small pin, you probably can't even see it right there, and then you take this pin out, and this magazine well will actually detach from the lower receiver. And then you can switch it out with other magazine wells, but they only make one other magazine well currently. The real one, I believe, there is a magazine well that you could put AK-47 7.62 mags in it, but there's none of that exists in airsoft to my knowledge. Fire selector, it's very stiff and there's very audible clicks to it. Polymer grip, another kind of unique feature. You see the seam right there, and there's that pin now here at the bottom. You could take that pin out, and then the back of the pistol grip will come off. I don't know why you do that, but I believe you might be able to access the wires, if I had to guess. There's a motor cage in here. It's a version 3 gearbox, much like your AK-47 or Galil or G36 and so forth. Then, of course, you got the stock that I touched on to begin with. It folds to the side like that, and it's with tension. You'll swing it back out. It's also adjustable by clicking in that. You can throw it out or keep it in. It's actually quite a long stock already. I'm rather short, so I keep it collapsed almost all the time. Anyways, that's kind of the rundown of the externals. Internally, mine shot 420 feet per second out of the box. And I actually got this second hand, but it's almost brand new. So 420 feet per second out of the box is quite on the high side. It's almost perfect for my local, my go-to field, but that might be too hot for some fields. There is a quick change spring system which is very easily accessed by taking off the stock, which again is just popping the spring. I believe you just need an Allen wrench and maybe a flathead screwdriver to change a spring, which is a very convenient factor of this gun. To disassemble, I didn't tell you already, there's this pin right here and this pin. You just take these two pins out. Actually, I believe you just need to take this pin out. You really don't need to mess with that technically to disassemble the lower and upper, to my knowledge. So anyway, you take this pin out and then the lower will come out. And then the upper will come out. I believe that's all you really have to do. Don't quote me on that, because I can't remember. I haven't taken this thing apart in a while. But if I remember correctly, it is quite simple to take this thing apart and then change your barrel and so forth. But yeah, it's a quite accurate gun. I have my stock hop up and stock nub and bucking in this gun is actually completely all stock except for the little changes I did to the wiring system that I maliciously destroyed and repaired unnecessarily, I should say. So yeah, I would expect a good performing gun out of the box that shoots just under 200 feet probably with accurate fire. Fire rate's pretty slow with a 7.4. But if you threw an 11.1 in there, it shoots just over 20 rounds per second. And with a 7.4, it's probably around 11 or 10 rounds a second, which is quite slow, I think, for a 7.4. But again, you're shooting at 420 FPS, so 1.6 joules. So that's pretty good. A pretty good performing gun. I would expect if you buy this from any new retailer, expect a pretty good performing gun for a field game or an outdoor game. One thing I did want to mention too, this my replica does not like hopping heavy BBs. It creates feeding issues, like 2.8s and up, more or less 3s and up. 2.8s, I use 2.5s primarily in this thing, and there's barely any feeding issues. But for some reason, I've yet to discover why it does not like heavy BBs and jams, and double feeds primarily, or simply just doesn't feed heavy BBs for whatever reason or another. I have a couple other guns that are kind of like that too. Anyways, that's kind of like my thoughts of the Bren. I think this is, like I said to begin with, a very good looking assault rifle, reminiscent of a SCAR, obviously. A lot of people call this the Czech scar or the Eastern Bloc scar. Um, so, but yeah, it's also kind of rare. I don't see many of these. I've probably only seen a handful in my life of other people's Brens. Um, but anyways, yeah, I recommend this gun. It usually retails for about $350 brand new, and I think it's worth that price, especially considering its uniqueness and overall build quality, which is quite nice, and performance. So, all right, as always, have a good day.